Let's do it. All right, my first guest is a gentleman who needs no introduction. He is the founder. He is the president of the Physicians Committee. He is my absolute favorite guest. Don't tell Will Bolsowitz I said that. Dr. Neal Barnard. There you go. Thank you for being here, my friend.
Thank you.
Have a seat. Let's get comfortable, shall we?
Thank you.
Oh,
Is it working?
it may not be.
It is? I don't know.
Hold on.
There we are.
Hey,
okay.
how
hey,
about
Chuck.
that?
Can I do a little bit of shout out?
Yeah,
as
by all
well.
means, yeah.
Some of the members of our board of directors are here. Ruby Lathan
Ruby.
and Mindy Kurzban, Barbara Wasserman, and Marty Wasserman. Marty, you're there too. Thank you. Thank you all. Thanks for making it happen.
Is that the Marty Wasserman?
That is the Martin Wasserman.
It is so
That
good
is
to
the man
see
who
you, sir.
swam the Chesapeake Bay
This guy.
at age 81.
This guy.
Thank
Man.
you. Yes.
Look him up. Google him, y'all. Have a seat, my friend.
Sure.
Let's talk. So, yeah, here we are again. This is great. What a beautiful crowd we've got tonight.
Well, congratulations to you, Chuck.
Thank you. I mean, what's it been? Six years and almost 500 episodes in, and here we are, man.
Yeah, but I can't even count how many downloads you've had, because if I do count and we make a video congratulating you, it's going to be more than that by the time the thing is done. So it's 10 million, it's 12 million, it's 15, it's 17.
It's
18.
17,
Yeah,
almost
all
18.
right,
Yeah. So yeah, it's true. When we first started planning these things, it was to celebrate 10 million downloads, and less than a year later, I mean, we're at 17. So
Yeah, and
thank you guys. You guys are clapping for yourself. You guys are the ones that are watching this and, you know, sending in so many great questions for the doctor's mailbag. Like, I seriously, I love you guys. You have no idea how much. But I love the guests that we have tonight, and I love the fact that you and I have a little bit of time here tonight as well. Before we get into our guest tonight, I understand, sir, that we may have an exclusive for the crowd in attendance. There may be a little something from Dr. Neal Barnard coming out next year.
That's right. I've got a new book coming
Is that
out.
right?
Exactly. Well, for all those people lined up to take Wegovy, or Ozempic or some other injection, we're going to talk about injecting ourselves with healthy foods.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. That's it. Yeah, never been announced anywhere. But the fact of the matter is certain foods are more effective for weight loss than other foods. And we're going to talk about which ones they are. And then we worked with Lindsay Nixon and Dustin Harder to make them all into delicious recipes. So that's what that's about. So I hope people like it.
So excited for this book. So excited.
Thanks for letting me mention it.
Yeah, and you know, thank you for interviewing me for that book. I think that's the first time I've ever been in a book, so thank you.
You're in it.
Super
You're
cool.
In it. And Shanae is in it. Where's Shanae?
Yeah, where's
There's
Shanae? There she
Shanae,
is.
stand up. Shanae's in it.
My friend with the fancy glasses.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that comes out next April?
March.
March. Okay, so mark your calendars. It is available right now for pre-order on Amazon. So if you guys want to log that in tonight, go for it. But our guest tonight, I mean, you want to talk about the first family of nutrition. You have to say it's the Esselstyns. How excited are you that we've got the whole brood with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have to say, I met Essie 25 years, a long time ago. And we were at a conference, and I walked in. I'd never met him before. He was sitting in the front row, ready for the conference to begin. He was there to learn, not to speak, because although he's the smartest person in the room, he's always a good student all the time. And I introduced myself, and we got to talking. And he was already known for his approach to heart disease. And I said, you know, we need maybe more research. We need to do a study where we use a totally healthy plant-based diet and compare it to, in a randomized way, a more moderate diet. And he turned to me and he said, you can't do that. That would not be ethical. I said, what do you mean? By that point, the evidence was so strong that a plant-based diet is the way to go, that it would be unethical to randomly assign people to anything else. And he was right. Absolutely right.
And all these years later, continues to be right. And it's just so amazing, the fact that we're going to have all of the Esselstyns on stage tonight. And I'm just curious, you know, since you began this journey with the Physicians Committee, how much information do you feel that we've learned about heart disease and whether it indeed should be the #1 cause of death?
Well, it should be obliterated.
There you go.
We should be able to obliterate. We have the knowledge, and the knowledge is not a new pill or a new surgical procedure. Those things have their roles, but we know more about the cause of it. We know what causes the arteries to narrow. We know what turns that around. So we've got to get away from Band-Aids and start using what really works, and what works is on your plate.
We're going to have a deep conversation about what works tonight. You ready for that?
You bet.
All right, let's go ahead and bring up our guests tonight, one at a time. First and foremost, who has, I call her one half of the Wild Woman duo, Jane Esselstyn, come on up. She is just a joy and a treat to be around. Come on up. You are a show-off. I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. Have a seat anywhere, wherever you would like. How about that cartwheel? I was not expecting that. Dag on.
Neither was I.
What? Hold on. Okay, talk again.
And neither was I. I was just so excited. I didn't know. I thought my dad was coming out first.
That's awesome. No, not yet. Let's get your brother up here first, huh?
I've got 3 of them. Which one are you talking about?
Well, the one that's sitting down right over there, tugging on his socks. I don't know.
Oh, wearing my scarf around his
Mr.
waist?
Plant Strong. Give it up for Rip. That belt, man. We good? Can we just talk a second about your belt? That is outstanding.
Well, we were supposed to bring red. I neglected to bring red, so Jane had this in her.
I had to wear my polka dot one because he needed some red.
Yeah, maybe I'll put it on my neck.
I think it looks great, dude.
Okay, I'll leave it.
All right. Our next contestant on the exam room tonight, actually, before she comes to the stage, I would love for you guys to take a look at this.
What? Get out of here!
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. Ann Esselstyn, holy Moses. Ma'am, what did you eat for breakfast this morning?
Well, actually, I dragged the tire before we left Cleveland. I got to practice.
Legit, they drove in from Cleveland this morning to be here with us. So, by the way, Ann, I know I'm not supposed to ask women how old they are, but how old are you?
88.
88. Goals. That's y'all's mom. I hope y'all understand.
Wait, Chuck, the only reason I could drag that tire is because Maurice is so strong.
I thought it was the plants. And our final guest this evening is somebody who is admired, revered. He is a true pioneer in this field, and it is an honor to have him with us here tonight, all the way from Cleveland, the one and only Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. Thank you so much for coming. Have a seat. This one is for you, my friend. All right. Thank you for being here. Long day. I know. How you holding up all the way from Cleveland this morning? That's a long day for you guys. I'm really impressed right now.
We're just delighted to be here.
Wow. So I just asked Dr. Barnard the same question. since you began practicing and obviously put out just this groundbreaking book that has changed so many lives, I'm curious how you feel the world's view of heart disease has shifted, due in no small part to all of your efforts.
Well, I think the truth be known that heart disease, coronary artery heart disease, is nothing more than a toothless paper tiger that need never, ever exist. And if it does exist, it need never, ever progress. And I think Neal really said it correctly. What really has evolved is such an understanding of the causation of this that really anybody in this audience can learn what is the causation of the illness, and you can absolutely halt and reverse this disease. And it really is a sort of a bit of a black eye on the medical profession that we've known for really many decades, that there are cultures on this planet where heart disease is virtually non-existent. And yet we have not taken that information to this country to halt the leading killer of women and men in Western civilization.
And in your book, to that end, in your book, very early on, you wrote, "Everyone in my family had died early." And yet, here you are, about 90, still doing great, making a drive for, almost, about, I said about. I'm not trying to age you, sir, I apologize. But how has you, what is your secret compared to so many others who did not necessarily, by any stretch, reach anywhere close to 90?
You're talking about the rest of the family?
Yeah, I mean, because everybody wants to say it's genetics, it's genetics.
Well, my dad had his first heart attack at 43. And obviously he was thriving. The problem is our family had an Aberdeen Angus beef farm and a dairy farm. So all the products that we were raising were destroying people's lives.
Yeah.
Including our own.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, I remember when I was doing a show in New York with Dr. Barnard and Rip earlier this year, and he began talking about all of the disease that had affected your family. I was like, there's no way. Because he said, like, everybody comes up and they want to say, I wish I had your genes. I wish I had your genes. And Rip's response was, no, you really don't. You really, really don't. I mean, so cancer runs in the family, heart disease runs in the family. It's all of the big ones, right, Rip?
Yeah, I mean, there's been cancer, there's been diabetes, there's been heart disease, there's been brain tumors. Yeah, pick any one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know, Jane, that's not lost on you either down there. And here you are doing cartwheels to come, I mean, cartwheels, for goodness sakes.
It's so fun.
I mean, you guys are living proof, as Dr. Barnard has said, you know, genes are kind of like a light switch. You can flip them on, you can flip them off, you know? So it's really a treat to see you here. Lots of meat eating in your family before the Esselstyns became the Esselstyns. Is that an accurate statement, Dr. Esselstyn? Lots of meat in the family before the Esselstyns were the Esselstyns and Plant Strong. And I'll take that as a yes. Yes.
I want to answer.
There we go. Go for
Come
it.
on.
Go for it, Ann.
Because when we got married, Essie's father had his heart attack, so we were really, we were unusual. We drank skim milk. We didn't eat eggs. But
Wait,
we
when you
sure
got
ate
married,
everything else.
Ann, tell them what you served for your first meal when you guys got married.
Right, but that was because of my father. But I grew up eating city pigeons, which my father called squab. And so, to celebrate the first meal that we ever had with our very fancy landlords and my parents, we served calf tongue. I'm sorry, that's never.
No,
Who's hungry?
I'd like to just take a moment and share with you the oldest patient that I've ever treated or started with. It was 87. Stanley was from the West Coast. Nice man. But he just understood that if at age 87, as frail as he was, if he had that open heart open heart surgery, that it would kill him. So he wanted to go plant-based, and he did. And every year he'd give us a call and let us know how he was doing. Last year, when he called, he asked to speak to Ann. And he wanted to speak to Ann because he was having a party, and he wanted many, many, many plant-based recipes. So then Ann asked him, what was the occasion of this gathering? And he said, well, it's my 100th birthday. And so that was last year. Just a few weeks ago, we got another call from Stanley. He wanted to remind us that he was now 101.
Stanley.
But I jumped on the phone with Stanley, and I said, Stanley, you know what you have to serve? You know what you have to make? I mean, if you're 100 years old, what would you guys recommend?
Rice and beans extravaganza.
You would. I said, you have to serve a recipe that has 100 plants in it. And he was like, oh, what is that? And I thought, oh, well, you could make a huge salad, but I thought you had, like, welcome to my 100 plants party, and there's 100 plants being served tonight.
How many people were coming to his birthday party?
100.
Really?
A couple hundred.
I'm sensing a theme with the 100.
There's some, one of the most frequent questions that we get asked if we're counseling somebody is, how long does it take if you're going to reverse this disease? And everybody is a little different because sometimes the plaque that you have in your artery is made up of fibrosis and scar and calcification. It's going to be stubborn. On the other hand, sometimes in the younger patients, when the plaque is made up of inflammation, fat, and cholesterol, the body can do a wonderful job with it. I'll just give you one other example that I just got a call 3 days ago from a gentleman who I'd originally seen a year and a half ago. And he was being seen because at the evaluation of the 2 carotid arteries that go to his brain, they were 50% blocked on each side. And the reason he called me 3 days ago, because it was a 1.5-year follow-up, and he'd had another evaluation with the ultrasound to measure how big these blockages were. They were, both of his arteries were now whistling clean.
Wow. You know, I hear stories like that, and my mind continues to be blown. And it makes me think of a quote that you had in your book, Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, and you referred to the participants of your initial trial, a lot of them as walking dead men. And I hear you tell the story about the 87-year-old who just turned 100, and I guess my question is, how late is too late? Are you ever truly too far gone?
No.
No. Okay. As long as you're drawing breath, you can make those changes.
Well, the reason that you succeed is there is a chapter in my book entitled Moderation Kills. So people say, well, Dr. Esselstyn, the reason that your program succeeds where others may fail, nobody else is as mean as you are.
Mean. I'm sure there are a lot of words to describe you. I'm not sure that mean would be one of them, Dr. Barnard.
Stern.
Stern? Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, these
Stern.
two at the end would know. Mean? Stern?
Kind of stern, uncompromising. He wants his
Loving.
patients loving. A lot of love there behind it all. Absolutely.
Compassionate.
Yes.
Actually, he's really competitive, and he doesn't want anybody to fail.
So I'm sensing an idea. We'll get the inside scoop on Essie, and we'll make that one of the Exam Room VIP podcasts. How about that? There's a really popular diet, and Dr. Esselstyn, I'm going to start with you, and then Rip, I'm going to come to you, and Jane. But the keto diet is all the rage right now. High fat, lots of meat, very little carbohydrates. Based off of all of your research, how would you assess the keto diet in terms of whether or not it's actually good for somebody's health?
Well, one of the things that I've learned professionally a long time ago, that I don't really get a big kick out of denigrating other person's science. But what I am not bashful about is asking what their science has produced. And if that keto diet has ever been shown to take patients who were seriously ill with heart disease and show that by giving them that diet that they could halt and reverse their disease, then it would really get my attention. That has not happened to my knowledge. And therefore, I find it very difficult to ask a patient to follow a diet which doesn't get the job done.
I think with the keto, we get wrapped up in the fact that initially in the short term, you would lose weight. So the old 420-pound me, if somebody said, Chuck, just eat a huge plate of bacon for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're bound to lose weight, I would have been all in for that. I would have taken all of my chips, mortgaged my house, and pushed everything to the center of the table, said, bring it on. Give me everything Smithfield has to offer. But knowing what I know now, I thought things are a little bit different. So when you're working with someone who, just wants desperately to lose weight and thinks that that is the beginning of their health and reclaiming it, and that's everything, I mean, what would your message be? So yeah, you can lose a few pounds in the short term, but ... How do you help them see past just that initial weight loss?
Yeah, I think that the way that we achieve compliance or adherence when we're seeing patients, that I think the factor that we've really involved over the last 15 to 25 years is that, and I'm going to do this with you tonight, right now, and that is the same as our patients, that you are going to learn, you must understand the causation of this disease. And the causation of this disease is when you forget, I have respect for your genes, I have respect for your stress, but it is if you have to put your finger on one thing, it is the food. And what we want to do is have patients absolutely eliminate every last bit of food that is going to injure the delicate innermost lining of your artery, the endothelium. Why? Because the endothelium is responsible for making this absolutely magic molecule of gas, nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is responsible for its marvelous functions of absolutely maintaining the health and protection of all of our arteries. So what we'd have to learn tonight would be what are the foods that every time they pass your lips, you injure the endothelial cells. Am I allowed to say what those are?
Oh, does everybody want to know what the foods are?
Not a drop of oil. Olive oil, corn oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, coconut oil, palm oil, oil in a cracker, oil in a chip, oil in a piece of bread, oil in a salad dressing. Oil is out. Also, all out is animal protein. Meat, fish, chicken, fowl, turkey, and eggs, and dairy, milk, cream, butter, cheese, ice cream, and yogurt, and sugary foods, cakes, pies, cookies, stevia, agave, excesses of maple syrup, molasses and honey. I don't like nuts, peanut butter, nut butters, or cashew sauce, and avocado. And I don't like coffee with caffeine. Now, what are you going to eat? Oh, all these absolutely marvelous Whole grains for your cereal, bread, pasta, rolls, and bagels. 101 different types of legumes, lentils, and beans. All these marvelous red, yellow, and green leafy vegetables. White potatoes, sweet potatoes, and some fruit.
And we're going to love dessert tonight.
Oh, yeah. See, initially that can sound like an awfully restrictive diet. And I know that there are people in this room who I love dearly who probably heard that, and you may have given them a heart attack. Sorry, y'all. But the fact of the matter is, like, you have to take it from the point of view, and this is where I will lean into my credibility here and say that the former overweight person can always steer you in the right direction of what food tastes good. And what this gentleman just described, you can make magic with in the kitchen. Holly Plank, would you agree? Oh, absolutely. That's absolutely from Holly Plank. So, Rip, we just saw, obviously what we can eat, and it's delicious. But I want to go back to your father's no-fly list, and I would love for you to take a look at the screen behind you. And if we could play this video of a social media guy who was all in for some keto diet, and you let me know what you think of this gentleman by the name of the Liver King.
Looking time for a snack today. This delicious meat mountain, raw.
Actually, that's not such a bad idea. Having it cooked can improve bioavailability of some of the nutrition, but cooking also can destroy and have a deleterious effect, like advanced glycation end products, and the thermal pressure of heat can degrade some of the proteins and hormones and fragile components, so you don't get the nutrition at all. So hedging it, having some cooked and some raw, not such a bad idea.
With some delicious salt.
Salt has utility also. It increases the blood volume in muscle contraction, and supports the electrolyte balance. Maybe he knows what he's doing.
So, I just want to get your initial reaction to that, Rip, to be honest with you. I've been waiting for that all day, man.
Well, he's just looking for some shock value there. He's gotten a lot of attention. It came to light not too long ago that he is jacked to the gills with steroids. He's, I think, bankrupt his long-term health to, look the way he is, all jacked up. But I think what you're seeing here is just America's insatiable appetite for another type of Atkins. So it started with Atkins, and then, of course, you got South Beach. Then the next iteration was paleo. Then you had keto, then you had carnivore, and then the latest kid on the block is the lion's diet, which is where you basically eat like a lion. You eat basically salt and raw meat and water. And as you guys know of Dr. Michael Clapper? So he loves to say that the ketogenic diet is basically just a physiological parlor trick. And you're not feeding your body any, for the most part, carbohydrates, which is a big mistake. Your body gets fooled into thinking it's in this starvation mode, which then basically shuts down your appetite. Because you're not eating carbohydrates, your body's not storing any water, so you will initially definitely lose some weight. But my father won't say it, but I'll say it. I think it's a really, really bad idea. And I think the science is absolutely piss poor. And I think you're subjecting yourself to obviously saturated fat, dietary cholesterol, a very, very weak, problematic form of protein, not to mention TMAO, heme iron, and the list goes on and on and on. And then, of course, you're contributing to all of the the number one cause of environmental degradation in this country. And, of course, we're getting away from our true nature, which is kind and compassionate people. And you're just being complicit in the murdering and the raising and the killing of close to 80 billion animals annually. So what the liver nerd, liver king is doing to me is it's pure shock value, and I don't know if he'll be alive another 10 years.
Yeah, there's making the rounds, and I don't want to pile on the guy. I want to keep this positive, but there has been stories. He's recently been battling health problems, it would appear, and he did admit to doing copious amounts of steroids to the tune of $11,000 worth every single month. He also has ab implants. So do all the sit-ups you want. You're never going to get a ripped six-pack like the Liver King there. because they're not real. But Jane, I'm going to turn to you kind of as the educator here, and let's lift the mood a little bit because I don't want to pile on the guy. I want to try to open the Liver King's eyes a little bit. You are an educator by trade, and this is what I love about you. So I would think that the Liver King might prove to be a difficult student, but difficult, not impossible. So how would you get somebody to kind of open their eyes a little bit and see the error perhaps of the nutrition ways and guide them into a healthier light?
I think you're trying to talk me into talking about some of the work I do that's not plant-based.
Just generally, as an educator, how can you get somebody to sit up and listen if they're not always the best students?
Okay. Because I work in the plant-based realm, but I also have always been, like many of you, I'm sure. Let me see a show of hands. How many of you are middle school sex ed teachers? Sorry, I can't see. Hold them up a little longer. Middle school sex ed teacher. Okay. I think he missed, or maybe didn't have a great middle school sex ed class, because what I often talk about are things that help things come up.
So,
and these, they're kind of a brand new trick for these middle school kids, and they love. If I say, did you guys, they know at some point that they're Miss Esselstyn. Someone Googled my name or something, and they found our cooking videos. So like, you make cooking videos? I'm like, yeah, I also write cookbooks, and I teach sex ed. They're like, food and sex. Food and sex. All right. I'm like, yeah, so it's a good life. And if you guys like your erections, try to steer yourself clear. They're like, wait. I like my erections. Steer clear of what? Steer clear of what? I'd say a lot of liver and meat and salt. Is that what you wanted me to say?
Sorry,
that's what I say to my middle school kids.
well, so is that really, I mean, as a guy, that would certainly get me to sit up and pay attention.
Yeah.
Fellas, is that the way to really kind of catch us, make us listen? That's
Catches
important
some
stuff.
people's attention. Middle school kids' attention.
Middle school kids, college kids, high school kids, older kids.
Middle age. I heard middle age. I heard middle age. Yeah. Bring it on. Old age.
All the kids.
Stanley, you're 101. Tons of fun.
Chuck, just to piggyback on Jane.
Talk to me.
So I think what you're talking about here is real men eat plants, and we're talking about, being masculine.
2 points for you, sir.
Okay, and so as Jane teaches us, we know that the artery going to the male penis is 1/5 the size of the arteries going to our heart and up to our head. And so I tell all these firefighters that, real men eat plants, and if you want to slay that erectile that ED dragon, and you want your Puff the Magic Dragon to roar, then you'll eat plants and drop the meat.
There you go. Would that get through to everybody? Huh? Yeah. That's a pretty important one, man.
Jane has something else that she is very passionate about right now. May I mention it?
It's his podcast.
Look, as far as I'm concerned tonight, you are the host. Anybody that tugs a tire like that, you get first billing.
It's the clitoris.
All right, so we got one. It's only fair. It really is only fair. What about the clitoris?
Well, did you have a question you wanted to ask before I'm on?
Or are we just going to leave it there? That's kind of a cliffhanger, no?
No, it is. No, I have 3 brothers. So there's actually, he kept saying he has all the Esselstyns, and I kept saying to my mom, but Ted and Zeb aren't here. Because there's 6 of us. And having 3 brothers, I always wanted equality. Everything's open to them, and opportunities, hey, me too. So yeah, we all had great opportunities and airtime, and anyway, so as growing up, I just, equality's always been a big thing, and being a Title IX athlete, it was a big thing. It's always been equal. It's always been equal. So in all this plant-based world, we got, the varsity of the plant-based world was these wonderful, amazing men. Neal and Colin Campbell and my dad, and it was like this white-haired game show host varsity squad of white men. And I'm like, where are the women? And they talk about erectile dysfunction and something's come up, and I'm like, and And anyway, finally, a year ago, last month, some research came out. 3 doctors mapped out that there are 10,000 nerves in the clitoris. This is thousands more than previously understood. I'm glad you're quiet because it's 2022 when that research came out. That's when they discovered that there are 10,000 nerves in the clitoris. There are commercials about Viagra every other minute of every other weekend or weekday or whenever football's on. So, the fact that this is just coming out, I'm like, oh my gosh. As a middle school sex ed teacher, I was like, this needs to be announced on the mountaintops. This needs to be known. This needs to be understood. Because I've had young men say to me in class, Miss Esselstyn, I figured it out. If I was a girl, you know what I'd do? I'm like, what would you do? This is the tricky kid who's saying this. He's like, I'd wear a tampon all day long. It'd be like having sex all day. And I was like, we have to discuss pleasure education. That's terrifying. That's terrifying. So if everybody knows, this is not just for women to know, but it's for everybody to know that this is the polka dot of pleasure. Half a mile in front of, okay, I'm getting carried away in middle school sex ed.
You've got the room, so I'm going to ask you to go ahead and finish.
Speaking of finishing, yes, that's what the whole reason that I want to talk about, because 2/3 to 3/4 of women don't do what he just said. Because that's not where the pleasure is. The pleasure's a half an acre to the north, and the polka dot for pleasure. Note the scarf. I was sort of glad Rip forgot his redness so I could wear this scarf. So I was so excited about the 10K nerves. I had a 10K for the 10K. just to get everybody more clitorate, gather everybody around and get them more educated. So gather your friends, gather your clitorati around and get them all educated and talk about this reality, because it has not been normalized. We've normalized discussions around how to prevent and reverse heart disease. We've normalized discussions, like Neal's book I talk about all the time. What was that cleverly named Dr. Neal Barnard's solution for diabetes? What was the close? Yeah, that's normalized. Everyone I know, that's what I say. YouTube videos, get his book, normalized. Erectile dysfunction can be reversed. That crouching tiger can become the hidden dragon, or Puff the magic dragon. It can be normalize the conversation. Let's normalize this conversation that women are designed for pleasure as well. You know how many nerves are in the penis? Someone make a guess. 4,000.
Dang.
Girls just want to have 2.5 times more fun. Oh, girls just want to have 2.5 times more fun.
I thought we were talking about heart disease tonight. Holy cow.
Don't trip my wire.
I made a mistake.
Yeah, this is y'all's fault.
Mommy, you brought it up.
You guys are amazing. I love this show. I don't know if you caught it, but your dad tapped me on the shoulder while you were talking. He's like, it's okay. It's okay. We'll get through it together. She's almost done, I think.
He's heard it a ton. He's heard it a ton.
Has she always been like this?
I want to know how is Neal hanging in there?
Yeah, how are you down there, man?
But then the question is, so then what do you eat?
Exactly. It's the exact same, the corpus cavernosa of the penis, which it dilates when it's triggered, is the exact same tissue in the floor of the pelvis of females. And it engorges around the vaginal space and creates lubrication from the plasma from blood flow. So blood flow helps men sign for readiness and erection, and blood flow from nitric oxide, I'm bringing it back, blood flow from nitric oxide being released also gets women ready as well.
And what gives you nitric oxide?
as we just covered, let's hear the greens, Daddy. Can you do the rap? Can you do the greens? What's the...
Well, yeah, I'll get to that, but I didn't.
He needs to recover.
I promised the audience that we'd finish the causation of heart disease, and I remember we finished with what it was that you were going to eat. But I changed the program about a decade ago because of an awareness that the endothelial production of nitric oxide is age dependent. You never heard of a boy or a girl at age 8 having a heart attack. No, they have nitric oxide coming out of their ears. But by the time they're beautifully healthy at age 50, they now have 50% of the nitric oxide they had when they were age 25. So the changes I made were two. One was a greater stimulation of the endothelial production of nitric oxide. And number two, we embraced the newer research that shows us that mankind has an alternate pathway for making additional nitric oxide. So here we go. I need you to chew 6 times a day a green leafy vegetable, roughly the size of 1/3 to 1/2 a cup after it has first been boiled or steamed, 5.5 to 6 minutes so it's nice and tender, and then you must anoint it with several drops of a delightful either balsamic or rice vinegar. Why? Because research has shown us that the acetic acid from these vinegars can help restore the nitric oxide synthase enzyme, which is contained within the endothelial cell and responsible for making nitric oxide. So you're going to chew this alongside your breakfast cereal, again as a mid-morning snack, again with your lunch and sandwich, that's 3, mid-afternoon 4, dinner time 5, and of course I adore it when you have that evening snack of arugula or kale. Now, the second benefit is when you're eating the green leafy vegetable, you restore the capacity of your bone marrow to once again make the endothelial progenitor cell, which will replace our senescent, injured, worn-out endothelial cells. The third benefit, when you're chewing a green leafy vegetable, you are chewing a green nitrate. That green nitrate is going to mix with the facultative anaerobic bacteria that reside in the crypts and grooves of your tongue. Those bacteria are going to reduce that nitrate that you've been chewing to a nitrite. When you swallow the nitrite, it is now your own gastric acid, which is going to further reduce the nitrite to more nitric oxide, which can enter your nitric oxide pool. So think about it. What you're doing for minimal expense, no side effects, all day long, dawn to dusk, morning to night. You are absolutely restoring the very molecule, nitric oxide, the deficiency of which gave you this disease in the first place. Now, there's a caveat to this. Toothpaste with fluoride, public drinking water with fluoride, and mouthwash will injure the beneficial bacteria in your mouth, and I do not like antacids because antacids will reduce your gastric acidity, and you will be unable to reduce the nitrites to more nitric oxide. Now, the top 6 are kale, Swiss chard, spinach, arugula, beet greens, and beets. Now, if you want the whole group, bok choy, Swiss chard, kale, collard green, beet greens, mustard green, turnip greens, snapper cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, cilantro, parsley, spinach, and arugula and asparagus. Thank you.
That's what we'd eat, Neal.
Man.
The greenerati.
Yeah, the green Harati. That is funny. Oh, man. When are you going to drop that on an album? I mean, we could turn that into a single right now. I mean, just throw a little beat behind it.
An Instapot being released.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Couple more fun ones here. I think this one, Jane and Rip, this one is for you. And I think that there are a lot of people who are probably just like, what in the world was it like growing up as an Esselstyn? Just because they feel like, they know you so much on social media. Obviously, we know about your new amazing waffles, that mix. But they don't know, like, what was young Rip like? What was young Jane
I want
like?
to just say one thing.
Oh, yeah.
Thank God there was no social media when our children were growing up, I don't know what would have happened.
Well, I mean, you take the good with the bad. I mean, we got you on social media earlier tonight tugging that tire. I mean, come on. You just got to outweigh the good with the bad there. There's some good there, but I don't know, you two. Jane, what was it like growing up, in the Esselstyn house?
Well, it's all we knew, so that's hard to say. But I do know that our door was always open, so there's always people coming in and out. I mean, having 3 brothers and just, again, no social media, so everyone's always getting together and playing this, playing that. It was very sporty. Like, we did a ton of sports, ton of activity, but I think we all did a lot more of that because that was kind of what you did, like what we would do. And we were kind of known as an ingredient household, not a great household to snack at. We used to take, it was back in the day, bran, maybe you know bran, just bran? Bran.
BRAN.
Was a big deal for like a season at our house. So I remember having a bunch of friends over and be like, okay, you guys, someone get the stopwatch. We used to have stopwatches that were like 60 minutes, and you're like, and we'd take this big wooden spoon and we'd scoop up bran and you put it in your mouth, and as soon as you could clear it, you'd stop the stopwatch. So you'd have friends over there, like someone would like start to laugh and inhale the bran and then cough and just spray it everywhere. But I can still see like the red plastic lid to the clear container with the wooden spoon, and we'd have like bran contests. I remember that.
We also in 1976, after the Rocky movie came out, we went back to the house and we all tried downing 6 raw eggs.
I did not.
Drinking it like Rocky Balboa did. But to Jane's point, it's incredible. Ann and Essie always have been so welcoming of guests and friends, and we had so many incredible dinners, still do, around the Lazy Susan table that is kind of a tradition in the Carroll and Esselstyn homes, and just the incredible dinner conversations that have taken place.
Oh yeah, when your
that
dad's a
Lazy
breast
Susan.
cancer surgeon and your mom's a 6th grade teacher, and the breast cancer surgeries and the guts, so it was guts and kids, and it was just great. Anything goes conversation, if you can't tell already. Yeah. This is kind of like a Lazy Susan dinner.
And then Chuck, I gotta say that, so many people have asked me, did you rebel against your father and his research? And I'm like, you know what, no. I have always had so much admiration, respect, and love for my mother and my father that I never went in the opposite direction. I feel like I've always been so supportive and a huge fan of everything that they've done. And I saw him putting his shoulder to the grindstone back in 1984. And when I come home from the University of Texas at Austin for vacations, I'd see him in the kitchen on the blue chair, calling up his initial 21 heart patients and talking to them about their latest blood results and going over their food log. And if you just knew the amount of time and energy and just the commitment that he made to these initial set of patients. So just for me, it's been nothing but love and admiration and total respect for the research and the journey that he's been on now for over 40 years.
You know, the amazing... An amazing thing to me is that we have 4 children and we have 10 grandchildren, and all of them are not just plant-based, but really quite passionately plant-based. And no one's put a gun to their heads. That's just how they are. And I'm interested that even the children range from 8 to 29, and as they get older, they get even more sort of strident. It's amazing. And when we wrote Be a Plant-Based Woman Warrior, Rip's youngest daughter was 7. And I got to interview all our grandchildren to see what they felt about being plant-based. And what Hope said, if you eat meat, you die.
That's a pretty strong quote right there. From the mouth of babes, isn't that what they say? 7 years old, already gets it, man. But Essie, I mean, you just heard what Rip said about you, but I would think as a father and seeing everything he's achieved, and Jane as well, you have to be awfully proud, bust your buttons, of those two sitting on the end right there. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. I want to talk to you a little bit more just about your legacy, because tonight really is about honoring the family and your lifetime of work. And I think all of us here have a vision of what we feel your legacy is, but coming from your mouth, what, sir, do you feel your legacy is? How would you like to be remembered? And please stay with us for an infinite amount of time. We're not ushering you anywhere, but how is your legacy? I'm trying to talk my way out of it because I feel like it got really awkward. And usually I'm pretty good about not getting in these situations. So can you get me out of this, my friend?
Yeah, I think the legacy that I feel most strongly about are the people seated on your left.
Yeah.
And more.
No, I said those seated. That included Jane
Ted and Zeb.
Rip and Zeb, yes. And the ones that aren't here.
The whole family. So, I mean, I would imagine, Ann, that Thanksgiving at your house is epic.
It's fabulous. This year, we have 43 people coming for Thanksgiving. It's all family, really.
All right, what's on the menu? What's on the menu?
Well, everybody's bringing something, but what's so exciting is that everybody brings something plant-based, and it is just, I mean, and Jane is so insistent that everybody has
Every
to bring
single
something.
human
So
who
can you
walks through the
imagine
door.
43 different things. We always start with, because Brian, Jane's husband, Brian Hart, is just a fabulous cook, and he makes a stuffing every year that we all fight over. And we have mashed potatoes that are great, and mushroom gravy, and this cranberry sauce. So we have those 4 things that we always supply. And then we
don't know what the other 39 are.
Well, there'll be rice and beans
we don't.
extravaganza.
No,
Will be
are
one
you-
of them.
all right.
They will.
Rice and beans
Anyway,
extravaganza.
it's beautiful.
Well, Thanksgiving is such an interesting question we always get. Oh, what do you do at Thanksgiving? And I'm like, who are you kidding? Like, the turkey's one dish of the bazillion that are out there, and everything is so easy to make vegan. It's all about the harvest. It wasn't about the slaughter. It's about the harvest, wasn't it?
Yep. And can we be honest? Like, how many times, even before being vegan, like, how many people had friends and family who were like, I just don't even really like turkey. I'm all about the sides at Thanksgiving. I was
Yeah.
always a sides guy, right? Show of hands. Who else was a side? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially the turkey tail.
Ugh.
That's just all fat.
You know, if I could come back to a question you said just a second ago.
Sure.
About the legacy.
Yeah, man.
And I think that the brilliance of, I think, my father is that he saw an opportunity to be a major disruptor, and he took it. He followed what he felt was the truth. And what I love is that he did it, and he was outside the cardiology box. So it took somebody from outside the field of cardiology to actually let all these cardiologists know, you know what? This is a disease where you don't have to play surgical whack-a-mole. You can actually get to the bottom of this with just something as simple as food. And look where we are now. I mean, 40 years later, I think back to what you were trying to do back in 1984, and as Ann likes to say, when the amount of people that were behind this lifestyle, we could fit under one little tent. And now I look at countries in Europe that are going plant-based. The Canadian food pyramid is basically plant-based. So, you know, the work that you have done and Dean Ornish has done has, I think, set the stage for so many others and given the whole food plant-based movement so much merit and credibility, and the fact that you have the science behind it. So just a few words there. Yeah.
There you go. I appreciate that.
We just got an email today from a man in East Africa who is an ophthalmologist, a doctor, who wants to start a whole food, plant-based movement there because he feels that there's a need and there's a want.
How great is that? And you know what else I think is particularly great is that this foundation that you guys have been building now for so long, it's going to carry on well into the future through the Esselstyn Foundation. And I know your husband, Brian, is here tonight. Brian, come on up, my friend.
Should I bring my own chair?
I mean, yeah. This is a man that just gets it done. He's like, I don't need any. I don't need a chair. I got my own, and I'm going to lug it, and then I'm going to tug a tie or two.
You can imagine how hard it's been sitting there. I just wanted to, do all the answers for them because I know that everything they're going to say. I'm just like, so funny. Yes.
Wait, I just have to say one thing, and that is Brian does these long-distance races and things, and so he is the one that invented the tire. And one day, I heard this noise outside, and I went out, and there was Brian going up and down our street dragging this tire. I said, Brian, could I try it? And so that's how I got started because
Yeah, I didn't invent the tire. I saw it on YouTube.
Take the credit, man.
Sorry. I attached the little harness to it, but that was about it.
Really quickly, tell us a little bit about what you are doing at the Esselstyn Foundation to carry everything forward because, I mean, we've come so many miles, but my goodness gracious, we have many, many, many marathons still to run here.
Great metaphor, excellent. Nice segue. So we formed the Esselstyn Foundation about 6 years ago because we wanted to make sure that this transformational message and all this amazing work that Ann and Essie have done would be available to anyone, just like the amazing work of PCRM. We want this message out there to everybody, even if they can't afford it, it's not on their radar, it's just not a part of who they are. We want it out there. And so we partner with existing nonprofits all over the country, and we give all of our programming away for free. And we just want to make sure that nobody is ever too far from this information. We want to get it out there to everybody. And again, we work with hospitals and groups of medical residents and schools and universities and groups of elementary school teachers and all these different people who...
High school food...
Sex
home
ed
ec.
teachers?
No, high school...
Not sex ed teachers, no.
I almost said sex ed. High school home ec classes are so fun to work with.
Yeah, and so again, we like the amazing work of PCRM and Dr. Barnard, we just want to make sure that it's out there. And so again, we give all of our programming away for free. We're publicly supported. So after you make a donation to the PCRM, then you can also make a donation to the Esselstyn Foundation, if you're interested, of course. But yeah, it's all about legacy. It's all about carrying the message forward and making sure that it's available to everybody.
And it sounds like, and
Also, I have to say that I love the New York Times on Tuesday when they have the science section that comes out. And the other thing that I absolutely love on every Tuesday is Brian does a wonderful little Esselstyn Foundation short little blurb about something so important in the plant-based movement. I mean, the ones that he's done so far should all be put into a book because they are concise, powerful, with just so clear because he's such a good writer. So I urge you all to just at least sign up to get the email every Tuesday.
You can do that at our website, esselstynfamilyfoundation.org. And you can sign up for the weekly, it's just an email blast that we do once a week. But it answers all those questions, again, very similar to what PCRM does, which is we answer all those questions, where to get your protein, what about calcium, all these questions that come up from your friends that suddenly have become nutritionists, right? When you start eating plant-based, all your friends who have degrees in things like communications or something like, well, I'm really concerned about your, yeah, okay.
uh-huh. Can we sign the Liver King up?
Yeah, the Liver King. Did you see how much that guy was sweating? Did you notice his shirt was all soaked? I think it's just all the toxins coming out.
But what's not lost upon me is that I feel like the foundation is set up for success, and the family, the Esselstyns, are set up for success well into the future because, as you were saying, you know, the youngest are growing more and more resolute about eating a plant-based diet, taking care of themselves by the day. Every day they get older. And so it wouldn't surprise me 20-some-odd years from now, probably less than that, we have another panel, do another show with a completely different group of Esselstyns. Maybe one of them will do a cartwheel, I don't know. Maybe another one will tug a tire, you tell me. I don't know that they'll tug it quite as well as you, though.
They probably won't talk about the clitorati, though.
Because it will be so normalized.
I love y'all, man. You make my job too easy. I don't have to be witty or funny or anything. It's just like let you talk. I really do, guys, wish that we had a lot more time tonight, but I would like to leave the final word, well, two final words here. Number one, Dr. Barnard, I mean, we are really sitting up here with a group of just extraordinary individuals. How much hope does it give you to be up here among this family who is literally changing and saving lives now for decades?
It's a wonderful thing, but it's not just the science and really showing what works and proving it and getting the word out. But there's one other piece of this, and that's the humanity of it, which every time I'm talking to somebody who's got really bad heart disease, and they're saying, what can I do? And I call up S. And Essie will say, well, have him call me. And he means it. And so I give him the number, and they'll let me know. He spent an hour on the phone with me, and he invited me to come up and see him. And, you know, they just don't make doctors like that anymore. And that is the way medicine should be practiced.
Truly one of a kind, my friend. And so I would like to give you the final word before we give you an award, my friend. The floor is yours.
Well, on the behalf of the family, I really want to express our thanks to Chuck Carroll, Mike McKenna, and Dean, and especially Neal Barnard has truly been such an inspiring leader for all of us in this movement. But I guess it leaves me with the fact that I feel that we are on the verge of an absolute seismic revolution in health. And this seismic revolution in health will never come about through another pill, another drug, another stent, another bypass. But the seismic revolution in health will come about when we in the medical community have the will and the grit and the determination to share with the public what is the lifestyle, and most specifically, what is the nutritional literacy that will empower them to absolutely annihilate and destroy chronic illness. Thank you.
Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn.
Chuck? I just want to say one thing, that I think all of you are one of the most responsive, amazing audiences ever. And I just want to thank all of you so much for being here.
You guys are the ticket tonight, man. But we do have a couple of more pieces of housekeeping. Did everybody got the chance to fill out the bean guess? I'm going to give you the exact number here in just a second. We've got a winner. But before we get to that, I want to tell you a little story about a woman by the name of Midge Stuber, who was an inspiration to so many. This is a woman who overcame a lot of her own health challenges. Matter of fact, she nearly died of a stroke. And then she discovered the myriad of benefits that come from eating a plant-based diet. She goes all in. She reclaims her health. She gets connected with us here at the Physicians Committee and became one of our biggest cheerleaders, one of our biggest fans. And we have an award now to honor her legacy. And it is my thrill, it is my honor to carry on her name to bestow the Midge Stuber Ambassador for a Better World to you, Dr. Esselstyn, and Rip, Jane, Brian, for your lifetime of commitment to making the world a healthier place. And so if we have that award, Betsy, I would love to bestow this to the Esselstyn family. Much, much, much deserved honor. Round of applause here. Put that under your pillow. And now the beans. Now, Ann, I'm going to ask you to
Chuck,
help me
before
out
you
here.
spill the beans, can I say one thing?
Oh, by all means.
Just, I feel like there's a sense of closure, and what I want to say that has been said, but what I really want to just spotlight for a second is that my dad had this amazing theory, and he just ran with it, and he knew the truth in it. He could feel the light that was there, and he can't really make toast. So if it wasn't for my mom, in the 80s, before the internet, before anything like a Whole Foods even existed or a natural grocery store, in Cleveland, Ohio, where we have like garlic salt and onion powder, she did it. And she made it work and she gave it legs. So such... No. It has truly been such an astounding partnership between my mom and my dad. And I live next door, and I can walk in the side door of their house, and I'll hear them yelling, "Hey, Ann, and it's just they're always just lovingly communicating all day long. It's wonderful. So the partnership has won. Thank you.
The partnership has won. All right. Ann, you ready to spill the beans?
I'm sorry, we never stop.
No, well, that's all right. You're like the Energizer Bunny. So, all right, help me out with this here. So everybody got the bean jar. We have the winner here. Now, before we say this gentleman's name, tell him that number right there.
It's a number, not a name.
Well, that number right there. This is how many beans were in the jar.
3810.
3,810 beans in one jar. Now, I know that you can do a lot of things with 3,810 beans, so I am thrilled to be giving this away, as well as a gift bag from Lush Cosmetics. Little love for animal or cruelty-free cosmetics company, Lush. They do such good work. I love those guys. So, a $100 Lush Cosmetics bag goes to David Engelmeyer, who guessed 3,793. Where you at, David? David. I don't know what your secret is, but outstanding job with the guessing, my friend. Pure luck, he says?
No such thing.
Well, I would love to know what you do with all those beans, man. Send us some pictures. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. This has been a thrill. I mean, this show has been absolute fire. I mean, we got the Esselstyns in the house, y'all. Woohoo. I don't know how we're going to top this going into 2024, but we're sure going to try. So we have some dessert out in the lobby, but we'll get to that in 1 second. But on behalf of the Esselstyns, if I may, and everybody at the Physicians Committee, Dr. Neal Barnard, thank you guys so very much for listening. And as always, keep it plant-based. Have a great night. Thank you, guys.